This is my Artic ODST project, printed on the Ender 3 version 2, but this should work for all variants of the Ender 3 or any hobbyist printer that's about the same size. As for the actual helmet, the visor is a 3D printed piece with just a kind of layer of tint over it. Maybe later on in another video I'll show that off. Sorry for this kind of bad camera angle. As for the actual helmet model, it was by Mozalik. Sorry if I butcher that, I can't really pronounce it too well. And then the full helmet model is at the bottom, somewhere around here. But if you want to go ahead, you can also make the full armor set, which I'm currently working on. But as for the helmet, quick things to note: the inner ring, which I'll show in a bit, is actually too small for your head. So if you're going to print this helmet from this guy, I recommend trimming it, which I'll show in a bit. So this inner ring, whatever software that you use to modify the helmet and cut it up into pieces, I would recommend making this inner section the diameter of your head before cutting this up. So maybe start with like a ball, and it should have like the diameters right here, and whatever size you have set on top of your software. For me, I use Matter Control, which is a great software. I'll leave a link in the description for that, but it's a great free software to modify your 3D prints. So say for example your head's like yay big or something. This is just an example. Let's just say my head is around this diameter or so. You probably want to line it up with the bottom, and you see how it covers the edges, and you can just subtract it from the bottom. So I know this doesn't look too great, but this is just sort of an example. This will help you in the long run, because originally I didn't do this. Yeah, I'll show you that later, but it just makes it so your head can actually fit through the helmet, because these edge pieces will actually stop your head from fitting through. As for cutting up the helmet, I ended up slicing it into 4 pieces. So for me, I had to cut it up to 4 pieces just because it can't fit on the printer straight away. It's one of the main obvious reasons, that, and it makes it a lot more simpler to print, because if you try and print it with one go and with all these complex pieces, there's going to be a lot of hangovers, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's all 4 sections. And a quick recommendation: if you use Kira to actually slice your software, or slice your prints, go down to your build plate and select none, because it just allows you to have a larger print surface to start with. Makes it absolutely easy to work with. So for example, if I actually turn it back on, my skirt's on. Now you cannot actually slice the file or do anything. I'll just give you a little thing. So once you cut it into 4 pieces, turn off your skirts. It allows you to actually slice the file and download it and print it. So once you have the once you have the file sliced, you can actually examine it, and I'll show you what I mean by kind of overhang, where the printer will actually try and print it in mid-air. So if we go down to like let's see if I can find a place of example. Right over here. Sorry. You can see where the printer will try and print in midair. And if you have Kira, they have custom supports, so you can lay down your own supports. And all you need to do is just check where it's going to try and print in midair and just add the support there. and it'll just keep on going fine with it. As you can see, for all the supports where I have them, they just sort of help with keeping everything together. So don't use the cure supports. For example, if you try to, it'll just go crazy with them. So this is what I mean by do not use cure supports, just because it wastes a ton of material and kind of just lays it out where it overhangs, which you kind of don't need because it can print this arc pretty well. So there's really no reason to use these supports. For the custom supports, you can go to Marketplace. Load for a second, and if you go down to, or scroll down just a little bit, you'll see custom supports just in there. So I'd recommend installing that and kind of using that as your own supports. For example, let me just kind of show you guys how it works for a second. So if I have selected my build, you can select custom supports down here, and you just see, I don't know why I did that, but you can just sort of add custom supports. I think my software is just acting weird, so I really don't know why it's doing this, but kind of get the idea. Here's the regular supports. You can remove them, add them, you know. It just makes it easier when it comes to certain prints. And then here's another project I'm working on. I am working on the full armor set, so that'll probably come later in some later on videos, but there's some primer on the actual helmet, and a lot of sanding to actually fill in a lot of these seams. So there's no Bondo whatsoever either, so it's great that I didn't have to use any filler with this. Absolutely easy to work with. But for the as for the actual helmet, it's spliced in a few pieces. So here's one section of the helmet. Sorry, two sections. This is actually glued together. You can see that cut right there in it. So this is the front section, which the entire helmet's split into 4 sections. And here's the helmet all put together. You can actually see where the sections intersect right here. And for the first time printing the helmet, it actually didn't print out correctly. It was a little bit too small, so the edges had to trim to make it fit my head size, sadly. It's kind of like a first test fit of the helmet. And yeah, I look kind of dumb. That's pretty much it for the actual helmet. So I later on just sort of added little details here and there. Just scuff up the helmet with some sandpaper. And here's what I mean by that little kind of matte finish, which you can still see through all of this perfectly fine with just a light layer. But other than that, sorry for not having any videos of sanding or printing, as I do not have a camera. I just sadly only have my phone, and my phone is not that great. But here's the finished product after some priming, sanding, and a little bit of weathering with some acrylics and sandpaper.